All right, welcome in everyone. This is Tom Keener with the AFWERX team, and really appreciate you stopping by this panel discussion led by Mitch Monroe on the topic of integrated solutions to better serve airmen and operational efficiencies. We are going to go ahead and get rolling now. So Mitch, I'll turn it over to you. And once again, welcome in everyone.
Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate it. As Tom said, I am Mitch Monroe. It is my honor to be able to be the moderator for this AFWERX Fusion webinar, Integrated Solutions to Better Serve Airmen and Operational Efficiencies. With us today, we've got representatives from Quantum Interface, SteerTech, and Wilder Systems. It's, as we discussed earlier with the representatives, we've got 25 minutes and an awful lot of questions. Hopefully, we've got a lot of questions from the field. We know we've got other guests out there listening in. Please, if you could submit your questions via the chat panel, I'll do my best to bring those forward to our representatives. If you don't specify which company you're asking for, I'll presume it's to the group, and then I'll pick one or two and press from there. With that, I'm going to ask each group in alphabetical order, so Quantum, Steer, and then Wilder, to please give a 60-second introduction to themselves and what their company brings to the fight. So with that, Scott, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, sir. My name is Scott Katowski. I go by Cuffs. I was former F-16 pilot in the Air Force. I work for Quantum Interface now as their advisor, specifically because some of the crazy ideas that they've come up with of changing the way that we pretty much define the user interface has really spurned a lot of insight into what we could do within the Air Force. Specifically right now within the Air Force, things that we're working on are the modification of 360-degree videos for training applications by overlaying an AR and VR model to them, as well as now moving beyond that and using eye control, head or gaze control for different integrated solutions within specifically maintenance for their Toughbook workbooks and their future expansion to HoloLens. So kind of creating that normalcy with an AR and VR world. Essentially, we're trying to underlie the new user interface and increasing the speed at which people are able to operate, primarily using eye control.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate it. Anuja with SteerTech.
I'm Anuja Sonalkar, and I'm the CEO of Steer. I bring a background of controls, automation, and cybersecurity into automotive. I lead a fantastic team at Steer, and Steer brings a safe, secure, ready-to-deliver vehicle automation technology that improves your operations dramatically and frees up your warfighters for the work they are actually indispensable for and need to do. And there's no learning curve. We use your own vehicles that can get retrofitted to your vehicles. So I'm here to talk today about how we can integrate various different technologies together to bring that next step in execution efficiency.
Thank you very much, Anuja. And Will with Wilder.
Hey, good morning, y'all. I'm Will Wilder. I'm the founder and CEO of Wilder Systems. Wilder Systems is an industrial services company that uses robots to deliver complex aerospace processes. Our initial product is a mobile drilling solution for new aircraft manufacturing. It's actually in production building CH-47 Chinook fuselages today. We're in the process of deploying a system at Lackland Air Force Base. It's basically a drive-through car wash for F-16s. It's also capable of de-icing. And so just getting the maintainers, off the wing with soapy mops seemed like a good idea. And then the other thing that we're working on right now is with Hill. We're in the process of deploying a system to defasten skin panels for a major repair that they're going to go through over the next roughly decade to keep the A-10 in operation. So defastening, adding potentially some non-destructive inspection capabilities to that, and then connecting it all to the digital thread cloud application. So connecting robots and the internet, just handing it off to maintainers. That's kind of what we do. So looking forward to answering y'all's questions.
Very good. Well, we're going to stick with you for a second. How do we overcome resistance by airmen to accept the new technologies? You mentioned getting maintainers off the wing, with soapy mops. Yeah, absolutely great idea. Now, how do you convince them that your technology isn't going to be too much to handle or just another toy to break?
Yeah, great question. I mean, that is getting buy-in from the operators is always one of the most important hurdles that you have to go through when you're deploying any type of automation in a factory. So, my background and the background of the guys on my team, we've been deploying aerospace manufacturing systems in both union and non-union shops globally for the last 10 years. And so you just kind of have to figure out what the maintainer or the mechanic, if you're talking about a new airplane factory, is concerned about. Obviously, everyone's worried about losing their jobs to robots. That's a really big deal. So there's the emotional aspect. But then when you talk to them, you say, hey, how does, after drilling out 1,000 fasteners a day, how does your shoulder feel? That's a big deal. And then in a lot of working environments, if you go from being a mechanic to, for example, being a machine operator, that's a raise. So highlighting that is really important. So you're no longer, a driller. You're a robot operator, and we train you to do that. So upskilling is really important, and just making sure they understand that. That's how we overcome the opposition to robots in manufacturing environments.
Very good. Anuja, we'll switch over to you. Thinking in terms of automated vehicles, what do you see will be the most impactful technology that the Air Force will experience in the next 2 years? Is it automated vehicles?
I do believe there are quite a few key technologies that are very impactful. I can speak from point of how automated vehicles can actually make a huge impact. If you think about the new air bases that are being built and what we need to support, wasting time, resources, fuel, all of that in movement simply of these vehicles for even logistics purposes, not even going to the tactical environment, the non-tactical environment. There are so many inefficiencies there. So creating the future bases, I think this technology plays a key role in automating some of the frivolous activity that you could actually repurpose your air fighters and your valuable experts to something else. I see AVs as a key technology. I see quantum as a key technology also, because really how much you can generate in a safe and secure manner using technology like this is, they've not even hit the peak of where this technology can go. So it's absolutely a keeper for the future.
Oh, great answer. Thank you. I do want to open up from the field that we had a question regarding back to Will regarding do you see your technology as cutting the amount of people needed? Have you done the cost analysis to figure out how many computer operators will you need versus maintainers?
Yeah, I mean, we analyze this at a couple different levels. At the site level, it's very easy to quantify what the labor requirements will be to operate our equipment. Here's the deal. The Air Force and frankly, aerospace manufacturing, the industrial base, is radically understaffed. They don't have enough people to keep our equipment running as is. So at least for the foreseeable future, we don't anticipate any layoffs from the transition to more robots. We're just going to be able to actually meet our mission readiness rate as set by the leadership of the Air Force and the rest of the DoD. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about that.
Okay. Hey, Scott, we certainly aren't going to leave out quantum. What are some ways that your company can deliver a holistic solution? You talked about how your product is helping, for example, get the eyes of the pilot through their current visor onto target. What else are you working at that you can look at or address to the group as being a holistic solution rather than just a patchwork of software and hardware that we now have to kind of piece together on their own?
Absolutely. So there's actually a comment in the Q&A that says that Dr. Mary Cummins just was mentioning that the automation and autonomy, human managed specifically, is not necessarily full automation, but it's the human machine interface. Well, the change in the human machine interface that I think is the most critical is going to be moving away from a point and click based system that we have currently. And we've had since the 80s, right? So we went from like DOS prompts into GUIs. And I think the next step is going to be essentially what is the baseline that quantum provides, which is a new vector analysis system that can allow you to sort through layers and layers of data with any mode possible. If you still are on a legacy mouse, you can roll through the data and it's a seamless transition because it's all based on a vector analysis system. If you now put that onto a head mounted, helmet mounted, or eye controlled system, you can move through that now with the speed movement of your eyes, which the eye movement is about 7 times faster than any other muscle movement in the body. And so now I can exponentially increase that amount of technology. I mean, just simply with eye control of whether it's a mechanic's tablet or a pilot's electronic flight bag, we're seeing increases of up to 20 times the speed that they can accomplish a task because we're using a more intuitive and natural flow through the vector analysis. How that would go into play with everything else is when you change the underlying user interface, you change the entire workflow process. Well, some of our workflow processes I don't think have been evaluated since pre-Vietnam. And so if you think of the technological leaps that we've made since Vietnam, then, and we haven't reevaluated a workflow process, then I think that's where you're going to see a lot of your operational inefficiencies starting to be streamlined and turned into efficiencies.
Very good. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hopefully that answers a question from the field. Anuja, back to you. I know that SteerTech autonomous vehicles, a cyber attack and takeover, if you will, is a key concern. How do companies like yours integrate technologies together to ensure a consistently strong resilience to a cyber attack?
Thank you for the great question, Mitch. So the key here when you integrate technologies is to make sure that there is the weakest link, and that really determines the lowest bar for security. The key here is to make sure that things are interoperable so that these technologies can coexist together and provide a total mission control, but also to be able to watch for what is the security posture and how can you elevate that. Now with Steer, we have a cross-layered cybersecurity approach by design that's built in right from the sensor layers, that the data that's coming in, to all the data that's being processed, understood, and you're actuating decisions on the basis of that data. So it kind of sits in the middle of everything. So when you integrate various different technologies together, they're still passing through what is called the core stack or the middle layer of Steer, and that provides, in that sense, the last bastion. So even if there's a weaker link somewhere else and that's penetrated or compromised, you still have a fort in the middle that you have to get through before you can actually get to the real asset. So that's one of the key things that we bring to the table as far as interoperability is concerned. And then of course making sure that all the software that's running on the vehicle is true and trustworthy, and including all the other applications that run, making sure that all the interfaces are secure so that as the data passes between these applications, they are protected, things like that.
Very good, thank you. Right, turning to Wilder. Anuja mentioned our overlapping technologies, the pieces that they can fit together. Scott also discussed that as well. From your perspective and what you're currently bringing to the fight, you mentioned the Hill. What are the overlapping operational procedures that can be augmented by technology? What else is out there for Wilder?
That's a pretty broad question. I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. So the way we see maintenance operations in the Air Force, it's a sequential flow. It's a flow of sequential operations. So somebody goes to a system like I believe it's called PDMSS. It's your work control document server at the Air Force, and they'll go to PDMSS. The operator or mechanic will receive their work instructions and then go do task 1, right? And then, so that might be, in our case, defastening. So they'll take a drill, they'll drill out all the rivets, and they'll go back to PDMSS and say, hey, I drilled out all the rivets. And then PDMSS will then request an inspector to come out and do that. And then the inspector will come out with their work instructions, perform their inspection, and then they'll alert PDMSS that the inspection's been completed. But one interesting thing is that typically the inspections are not actually documented. It's a go, no go. So only write it down if there's a problem. So that's the main point here that I want to say. So with our system, what we're doing to kind of combine operations is make our robot networked and then actually write down even successes and then record the data in a way that you can analyze later. You know, a lot of the actual analytical tools or inspection tools depend on analog data, which conceivably could be fed into a machine learning algorithm to start generating more reliable go, no go. So eddy current is a prime example of that. So specifically, we're looking to integrate our mobile robot with defastening and eddy current, and then actually writing down both the successes and failures. And so that combines, you know, different tasks into just a better solution, I guess.
All right. Well, very good. We had a question from the field from David T. that I'd like to put to all three, please. We're going to just do these in reverse, or I'm sorry, in order rather, starting with Scott. The question was, the move to automated solutions, which all three of you are bringing to the table, is great for efficiency and effectiveness. What about failback capabilities? What does it take to ensure the mission can continue if and when the automation fails or operates suboptimally? Scott from Quantum?
Excellent question. So obviously inherent with any of our processes, and I'll take the electronic flight bag that we were discussing before that we are integrating and on the iTech Ion tablet that's got an eye tracking feature. There's still a touch capability there. So in the event that you can't have the eye control function, you still have the ability to tactily engage with that device. I think that's one. And then because that technology is so readily available, it's not difficult to leave that layered approach in there with the ability to always go back to what's normal. That's also a way, kind of getting to your first question, where you said, how do I get the operators to not be resistant to change? Right. Most of the time, what you do is just let them touch it and let them play with it and realize how interesting and enhancing it can be for their operations. And it's usually not necessarily the conceptual application they describe. It's one where you go, wow, this really does save me time, which allows me to either A, get home sooner, or B, get the next job done quicker.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. All right, Anuja, again, the question is concerning failback capabilities and what does it take to ensure the mission can continue when those automated systems fail?
This is a great question. The key here for us is that this is a technology that is retrofitted onto an existing vehicle. So the vehicle itself is familiar and its operation is familiar to operators. There's no new learning curve. The key point here is if there is a failure, the operator can actually jump into the vehicle and take over, and he can continue the mission as is. You can have these vehicles with an operator operating them as usual, and so takeover is seamless. Or you can have it human-less driven around, and if there is a failure, an operator can get in. We also have technological safety and stopgaps in place so that if there's a failure, there is a fail-close system that will make sure the vehicle turns to the side and stops in a safe position. There are 4 different ways other than the operator that you can actually pause and stop this vehicle and resume operations from outside the vehicle itself. From a central command, you can do it from a console as well. You also have a triple redundant geofence that the vehicles will only operate within those geofence. So you can create work zones for different types of vehicles, and they can only be present and operating in those zones. So if, for example, there's catastrophic failure of everything else cascaded through, these vehicles cannot be subverted and used for destructive purposes because they can be contained within those operational zones by a strict secure geofence also. So there's a physical security component also that's native to the solution.
Okay, thank you. All right, Will from Wilder.
Yeah, failure, always a possibility. So we do a couple things to handle that. One, we don't recommend that our customers throw away their tools. You know, it's a pneumatic drill. Is in the defastening case, they're always going to have that. So manually performing the task is not a problem. Another, I guess, kind of to the side of that, our business model is robots as a service. So we actually only get paid if our system works. So that aligns our incentives with the incentives of our customers. We've built modular robots, and we maintain a stock of spares ready for rapid deployment in case of system failure. And so we have service level agreements with our commercial customers that we commit to and deliver on with our stock of spares. So we have really quick turnarounds on a breakdown in the order of 24 hours, in the United States.
Okay, very good. The next question I'm going to again ask to all three, and you don't need to stay within your field of what your company brings to the fight, but I think it's a very interesting question to ask. What are the most critical operational tasks for airmen that have yet to be addressed by technology? Scott?
That is a great question. Let's see, in my experience, in my time in the Air Force, we were bringing technology into every aspect, from simply trying to go on a TDY and bringing in the automation of the travel voucher system to when I was leaving the Air Force, and now we're bringing on electronic flight bags versus paper manuals. As far as what has not been touched, I can't think of one that hasn't been touched. I think there's several that we could say have not been touched effectively or touched with enough care and feeding to get them to the true point where they're operating the way they should. But I think we're getting there just simply in simulations. If everybody had the opportunity to step through a simulator or a virtual or augmented reality type event prior to going out and operationally performing that event, whether it be in training or not, I think it would be an improvement similar to what surgeons do prior to surgery, where they have the opportunity to go get that last layer of practice. And I think that's the one thing that Quantum is trying to bring into this, is the ability to have cheap, mass deployed augmented reality or virtual reality systems. And with bringing in devices like a HoloLens, where you can now bring in remote mentoring, I think you're going to get the layered approach of experience with the technological boost. And I think it's only going to exacerbate the ability for us to capitalize on robot technology like from Wilder, where we can have one person handling 3 or 4 different tasks at a time because of a layered approach.
Okay. Anuja, over to you.
That's
Operational tasks for airmen that have yet to be addressed by technology.
I think that's a great question. I think it's mainly to do with all the support systems that go in place so that airmen can do their operations. I think there's not a lot done in that space. I liked the surgery example that Scott just shared. And intuitively, if you think about a surgeon and who's in high demand, he has a support staff that's actually bred to provide all the support, and that's being augmented and replaced by robotics now to provide, so that the surgeon can really focus on the surgery and then move on to do more surgeries. And I think it's the same case with warfighters and airmen, so that they can focus on their mission and their energy and their time can be purposefully used. I think all the support that goes into what needs to be, the tool sets and the other vehicles and the payloads, whatever needs to arrive at a location so that they can perform their job, I think that would just accelerate their comfort, reduce their stress and distress, and thinking about the mental health also of airmen, right? Reducing the friction that they have in order to do their job. I think that will go a long way to improve their life also.
Okay, very good, man. Thank you. And last, certainly not least, Will.
Well, so here, I'll tell you a story. So the most important task not addressed yet by technology is the one that the crew chief tells you is his problem. So with this F-16 washing system we're building at Lackland, for example, we went down there with the intention of selling them, not selling them, but just offering them a depainting system. Basically, they have to periodically depaint and repaint all their movables, the fuel tanks, whatever. And so we have a robot, we can put a sanding head on it and depaint it. And I told them, hey, we can do that. And they're like, that's so cool, we don't care. And so what they told us is, they told us, hey man, you know what I hate? Getting suited up and scrubbing the landing gear. And I was like, well, I mean, that's the same problem for us. It's basically, get a robot to spray and touch the airplane. So that's the most important thing, I think, really, is to take those opportunities so that this, senior master sergeant offered to speak with me and my team about what they're actually doing and really listening. You know, a lot of technologists will think, hey, I've got this solution. Where's your problem? Somebody give me a problem. I'll solve it with my thing. And it's like, hey, look, y'all, that's just not how it works. So listen to your customer. I guess that's my number one point on this. Just ask them, hey, what do you hate doing? And then maybe there's a way to solve it with robots, or maybe it's a piece of software. Shoot, maybe it's just a better form on a clipboard because they already have those. Right. So you just have to figure out what is their problem, and then, you know, the simplest way to fix it is kind of my deal.
I like it. Folks, I hate to say this, but we are quickly running out of time. So with that, I'm going to start off with Scott and ask you if you would wrap us up for a 30-second farewell from each company.
Absolutely. So for Quantum, there was the last remaining question in the audience says, is our HMI readily deployable? Yes, we are available. Please come see us. We've got 2 virtual booths right now, but if you want to spin the topic onto the HMI, I would absolutely love to talk to you about that. So we're both in the medical and the eye control range. You can find us in all the links below for the different zones. But like Will said, specifically at Lackland, that F-16 unit's wing commander has gone above and beyond trying to push new ways to get his guys better and more efficient operations. And when we find commanders that are like that, or like the entire AFWERX kind of idea of, hey, we've got the idea to go innovate, who wants to blow something up and do it better? That's exactly what I think this is all about. And Quantum is really excited that this process has started along those lines, but it takes the innovative mind, such as the commander at Lackland, or guys that are going to look at a new way to do something. And the hardest thing about
Scott,
that
I apologize to cut you off. We're going to run out of time here.
My bad.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We, as I said before, we have a ready to deliver. That's ready today. A secure automation technology that can improve your operations dramatically, working with other fleets, deployments, and things like that. Automotive companies commercially available, and you can visualize the base of the future today if you would like. We also have actually a virtual booth going on, and happy to have you know, folks here who are interested to talk more to show up. And it's all the information is on our webpage, and it will be up now after this panel ends also for the next hour. So please show up there. But thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, today.
Very good, ma'am. Thank you. Will?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone again for the opportunity to speak with y'all about kind of what we're doing, and just to get to know the other panelists has been tremendous. I want to echo what Scott said. You got to find the right end user, and if they want to run with it, AFWERX has been nothing but an awesome partner to us to get our technology into the hands of users who can then break it and help us make it better. So that's what we want to do, is deploy systems, break them, improve them, and then ultimately help the operational efficiency of the U.S. Air Force and the DoD more broadly. So thank you all.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I would just say that, you know, as our demands on the nation increase and budgets stabilize or decrease, hey, we must better serve our airmen and our nation. And we're going to do that through the integrated solutions. And I think all 3 of your companies are certainly on the right track to do that. So I thank you very much. Tom, over to you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for a very interactive and a panel. Really appreciate everyone's perspective. For those of you still here, the live stream is beginning momentarily, so head back over to afwerxfusion.com for the live stream, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.